Hey everyone. Hey, sorry, I got the camera a little bit low here. And my apologies for the lateness. Uh, but then again, if you're a night owl, you're probably used to this by now. Uh, the car looks a little weird because it's considerably lower on this side. We have an airbag leak on the driver's side now. So we had one over on the passenger side. We got new airbags, new lines, new protective, heat protective stuff for the lines, but we have a very, very slow leak on the driver's side. And it's taken probably 12 hours, 10 to 12 hours for it to leak down. It's lost almost 100 psi. So to check the airbag is no easy task, but I've gotten pretty quick at it and um, doing it pretty quickly. The only difference is I have the fender well in, and we're going to have to use some electric tools to get that out kind of quick. So that's where we're at right now. This says chat disconnected. So I'm just going to double check. To see if that's working because it keeps telling me that the chat keeps disconnecting. And if anyone's wondering, oh yeah, it has been a Friday. So we'll get the and we have you guys saw the new hood ornament. Original Cadillac spring-loaded hood ornament. So we actually have some kind of reference to the front of the car. It's very hard to see across this really long hood. The other thing we did last night was try to recharge this battery. We have a leak. Something is drawing power off of this, and we only have a couple of different things. So I'm rebuilding that or doing a repair on the battery right now. And I think it's the Holley Sniper. So there's only two things hooked up to the battery. We have the fans, the cooling fans, which are on a relay. So unless that relay is engaged, they're not drawing power. And the Sniper. And the alternator and the starter obviously are also hooked up to positive. But the Holley requires a full-time connection to the battery. So let's see if the Holley is the reason that the battery keeps getting drained, or if we have a bad ground or something else, we can certainly find it. But that's what we're doing on this side of the car. On this side of the car, we have our airbag issue. And the airbags are very simple. It is, I'll show you what an airbag looks like. And these are made by a company called Airlift. And this is what the airbag looks like. And it's very simple. And this is just atmospheric pressure in here. It's not inflated. It'll actually get a little bit taller. You have a port up here, and that's where your line goes in. And that's where your airline goes in. And then you have a mounting plate that goes on top of the two screws, and you have a mounting cup on the bottom. There's actually cups on top and bottom. And this will deflate. Let's see if I can push this in. It goes a lot flatter. And it'll also expand. Once you put a couple hundred PSI in here, it expands pretty good. They do about 3,000, about 3,000 pounds a corner. So with this car weighing in at, it's probably going to be close to 4 tons, a little bit under, between 3 and 4 tons. So I need 3,000 pounds in each corner, and all the other 3 corners work great. And the car rides really smooth. It really does ride like a Cadillac, even at 80 miles an hour. This thing, with all the horsepower and torque it has, it rides really nice. So we'll get cracking on it. Also, it's really cold here. It's like 30 degrees outside. And the little heater's working, but I'm going to put the other heater on just because. It's nice to be warm in the shop. Pretty soon I won't have to worry about heaters. Just have the fan running in the background. Keep everything cool. So I'll grab a light so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing on the far side. Once the computer charges, I'll wheel you around. I'll get you a little bit closer now. The battery on the laptop is still charging. So I've got to do some disconnecting here. I have some wires here that are, this old wire harness is zip tied in place. And I have this connector for our temp sensor that has to get undone here. And he just gets unbolted here. And this fender liner comes off. So I'll do that, and I'll spare you guys the noise with the electric. So I apologize for this. We're just gonna use the shorty. So let me pull the mic down here so it doesn't blare out on you guys. I know that's not pleasant. So these are all 10mm bolts. This guy. And one trick is, like, we have two different bolts here. When you take a bolt out, put it back, if you can, where it came from. And you're not going to lose it. So these guys, I'm going to put right there. Well, actually, I have a kind of a container for them. So we'll put all of our parts in our red tray. I hope everyone had a good Groundhog Day. There's all the way back here. A couple more back here. I think I have one more down there. I need to light and see. I do. I'm supposed to have another one. There's actually one in the wheel well, which I don't remember that guy. But here he is. Because he also holds up the lower panel down here. So, okay. There we go. Try not to blind you guys. But also give you light in here. That's the nice part about old cars, older cars. Everything's steel. So you don't have to worry about aluminum or it not sticking to anything. So now this is going to be kind of interesting. Because we come around, wire them here, so wire them there, and you gotta cut that zip tie, but otherwise we're clear. These are zip tied, and then also up in place. Yep. Whoa, set him back out of the way. Garbage here for now. Yank our wires This, of course, comes out a lot smoother when you're not on YouTube Live, right? Get back down there. Oh, wait, what do we got here? I see what we got. Hang on. We have the other bolt for the splash shield. Preventing this from coming down. Okay. Okay. Oh, connected. Yeah, so this is this lower splash shield. He's trying to come up at the same time, which does not work for us. Does not work for us. So, okay. So now that we have the lower splash shield out, now we can come out. And that's the whole fender liner. That's all that's in there. So we'll set him over to the side over here. Oh, sorry. Trying to be quiet with the mic and I just drop it on the ground. I have a really good ability to hook stuff, like coming up the stairs. I actually hooked my jacket on a dry cleaning hook for the door that's up about this high. Somehow the lower part of my jacket did that. I have no clue how, but it did. So we'll set this guy kind of up and out of the way. You can actually use one of these panel screws and just finger tight him out of the way here. So now this is our lower splash shield that was still on and he gets caught right here. That was still on the main portion of the fender. So I'm going to lower the car. I'm going to let all the air out of the system, and it's going to go on the lift. And then I'll bring you guys over, and you can sort of see the suspension and how it works. You can at least see the tire and upper control arm and stuff. So give me a minute to lower the lift. Whoops. We're going to raise the lift, and then we're going to lower the car. We're going to get all the air out of the system. Just makes it a little easier to work on the system. Where is this cable? How is he hooked in there? Oh, okay. He's under the two that I did last night. Where's our connector here? Now it's all the air out of the back. Almost all the air out of the back. Now we'll do all the air out of the front. Okay. That should be all of the air out. We'll check the gauges. Oh yeah, everybody's at 0. All right. So now the car's on the lift. everything down. You can see how low the car goes. And we'll bring this up. So now we are officially off the ground. What we'll do is we will take this wheel off, and they're knockoffs, which is really nice. It's very quick to take the wheel off. But while I'm here, I'm just going to inspect the bag and the lines, which are, I mean, everything's tight in here, and there's no burns or abrasions or anything like that. It's hard to see the line once it comes into the upper strut. It's very hidden, but I honestly, I don't see anything, totally blatant. And it is a very, very slow leak. So to get knockoffs off, I just use the orange mallet. And knockoffs are side dependent. So on the right side, they're reverse. Right is reverse. That's the easy way to remember it. And on this side, it's normal threads. I did a live a while back about putting on knockoff hubs, and yeah, this is what comes off is your cap. Sometimes these are 2-spoke or 3-spoke, or sometimes they're a big huge nut, whatever. And 100-spoke wheels are usually a lot heavier than regular wheels. So I'm going to take this guy back behind us. But this is the nice part, right? No air tools or anything like that. So I'm going to let him rest on the lift arm for now, because we need to pull the shock, which is right here. And this is our airbag mount. But the first thing we need to do is get the jack over here and get this main nut off the LCR or LCA, the lower control arm. So we put our hammer back. Just kind of close quarters over here. And this guy is a 21. And he goes on a wobble. And he goes on a nice long extension. And right there. And we're going to use air for taking him off. So I'm going to face the mic away from you guys again, if that's all right. So now the question, why use airbags versus springs and struts and stuff like that? Airbags allow you a lot of height adjustability. They offer you different ride levels too. So when you have a lot of PSI in there, you have a firmer ride. You have lower PSI in there, you have a much softer, smoother ride. Doesn't handle as well, but those are the trade-offs. So you have that height adjustability. In this car, we have, 7 inches up front and 6 inches in the back. So that's a lot for a big, huge car like this. That's why guys switch out the springs for air. Simple. Yeah, that's good. Look at that, Kobe 2004. All right, we'll pop the mic off. We'll get this nut off of here. We got to use the big boy. Come on, give me a clip. All right, there we go. Let's do this one. Okay. Takes a little bit, but he comes off. So we'll keep this handy too because we'll need when we put it back together. Next thing I got to do is take the shock mount off. But before I do that, I'm going to go get one of the floor jacks and I'm going to hold the LCA from underneath. And that way the shock kind of stays in place. When I lower it, the shock will help push that ball joint out. Right now, if I did the shock, it would just go pink and pump it out really hard. So that guy is a 9/16. Every day I gotta wake up and be this good. And we'll just use the electric for this. We'll get a high amp battery. And swap those guys. And it's nice on older cars, you have this like tool tray right here, whereas on modern cars, you normally have them up there. Let me grab a jack here. A hockey puck. Okay. It says it's aluminum. This feels like a lot of steel. All right, hockey puck. There's a Zerk fitting on here that you need to be very careful of for that lower ball joint. Okay. Now we have that cranked on. I'm gonna bring you guys over now. Actually, hang on. Let me do something quick here. All right. Okay. We're good. All right. I don't know if the chat's working. Whoops. All right. It says we disconnected and then it was reconnected. So I don't know for sure. So I'm gonna crack this and I can't really tell how much battery I've got right now, but we'll put you guys over for this and then bring you back for some of the other stuff. I'll just leave the mic right here. Hopefully the mic can still pick me up. So bring you guys right in on this. And there you go. You can see the suspension. So we have our upper control arm. We have our shock. We have our lower control arm down there. We have our spindle, brake rotor. And this is our adapter for the white part here is the adapter for the knockoffs. So you guys get a nice view of that. So I'm going to move the mic because I'm going to take this shock off and I'm going to use Well, hopefully it's not too loud. Let's just try it real quick. That's not too bad, right? So all of this. So we have our nut, we have our metal washer, we have our rubber bumper, and we'll have the same rubber bumper and metal on the bottom side there. That's all aside from this guy, which is 11/16. Our main bolt to hold the airbag in is down there, and he's 11/16. And this guy is completely empty. So I'm going to hopefully raise this up and see if I can get that LCA out of there. Maybe. I'm not dropping. Kind of sucks. There we go. I don't know if you can see that. That bolt came loose. Ball joint, but we need to get our shock out of here. So compress him, get him just kind of out of the way, and then we can raise this up. We'll lift this with the jack, and then the lower control or the upper control arm will be free, or the lower control arm will be free. We can push it out of the way, get to the airbag. So, go with the LCA right now. Come over to this guy. Try and raise him up. This is always difficult because the brake rotor wants to turn. You don't really have a good spot to lift from because it always wants to turn. Always wants to turn. And it wants to pop out of the way. Once you get that lower control arm out, yeah, see, he keeps wanting to go here. He becomes very, very limber. Very limber. Like he just moves the jack all by himself. And this thing is not light, just to let you in on another little secret. This whole assembly is all stamped steel. Yeah. So trying to get this thing in. Okay, now he's caught on one of the nuts. So now we can lower this lower control arm and get to our airbag. Wish this guy would absolutely stand. Oh, he's actually doing okay right there. So now we'll take this nut off that's inside here and lower the airbag down and check the fitting inside the airbag. Now this guy's an 11/16, so I need that socket and maybe an extension, so I'll grab one since I'm here. Okay, there we go. Glad I grabbed that extension. So now we can take our, we got to be careful with these because we don't want to lose them. We have our nut, just like that. We have our lock washer. We have our main washer. We need to save all those guys. So they'll come over here. Now, our airbag can come out. So we push the lower control arm out of the way. And you guys, oh, yeah, I see the shock just hooked in the steering. And it just pulled everything out of the way. That's why this is not as much fun as it looks. God, this thing is heavy. You have almost no leverage. Whoa. Airbag. Back in the lower control arm. And lower the jack. Oops. All right, I just thought of something that can help me out. Since we have vented rotors up front, do this. Stop that thing from moving. Ooh. Now, that thing can't rotate. Oh, he's not letting it go that way. So, yeah, now he's trying to get it to go that way. Okay. This is probably the most difficult part. Wish there was a better way to do this. Right now, this is the only way I have to do this. It's okay. Come on. There's nothing to hook. Okay. The other big problem I have here is that I have very limited space to work this jack because the wall's right there. So, where did my power? So, okay, that did not stay. It's supposed to. Now it's going to stay where it's supposed to. I think. Sorry about squeakies. Oh, there's some old bushings right there. Okay, so that is kind of max ride height on that. Now we can get our airplane out of here. Looks like the shock has taken some hits too from the steering. So we might have to reload the shock to this inside position. So now, there's our airbag. And here's our airline. Oh, he's trapped right there. So we're gonna have to zip tie, cut these zip ties right here. We have 2 zip ties that are holding it in place. That's going to be but a moment. upside here. You just need to remind me to put those back in. Just going to be careful of heat shield. Okay. This silver stuff is heat shielding for the airlines because the headers get so hot they can actually melt the airline. So we have a little bit of extra here to use, and now you can see, hopefully you can kind of see inside the airbag where it mounts, where this stud mounts, and then you can see the cup on the other end. So what we're going to do is pull some of this heat shielding away. And with our bad hand, try and release the airline. There it goes. So that came out way too easy. So there are a few notches on here. What I'm going to do, you can see this, I'm not sure. I'm going to trim off probably 1/8 of an inch off the end of this airline. And in here, I'm going to blow this out to make sure that there's no crap inside the fitting. That really quick. And it's funny, you can see the airbag kind of try and inflate. So there you go. And then it can deflate really far. That's all the way down. And then this is about all the way up. So get my special tool for cutting lines and wash my hands and put all this back together. Actually, we'll probably test it first. Actually, the only way to test it is to wait. So put it all back together. Kind of a pain, but it does work. Right. Wow. So yeah, you do this a few times, you get pretty good at taking it apart and putting it back together. Right. So here's my tool. Tool's right here. That's what he looks like. And he has that little razor blade there. And the line fits right in here. And then you go snip. Push down, obviously, from this side to help cut it. It gives you a very nice, very straight cut. So let's find this. Use some of the available light. And again, I don't need a lot of it off of there. Enough to give me a nice flat cut. That looks really good. Okay, so now we're going to use Where'd it go? Oh, that's a penetrate. A little bit of this. I'm just going to use some WD on the outside of the line to help it go on there. They need to get this guy partially in place because he doesn't go on without it partially in place. I don't have enough length to bring him all the way down here. Shot right there. And with a big brake rotor and spindle in the way, a little more difficult. Oh no. And of course, sleeve wants to be very helpful. Okay, sleeve. It's kind of interesting how you route these lines because it goes under this control arm mount, goes through there, and then the hole that they made in there, they just punched it out. So it's like it looks like an explosion happened. They didn't clean up any of the stuff once they punched it out. They just left it. So the nice part about this is that these lines can rotate. Downside is it's pretty heavy and it's very hard to see in the dark. No way of pushing that line any further in there without, because if I push, then he gets caught. Looks all the way down. That's what it looks like. So put our fire suppression back on there. And then you have to remember how this guy lined up because you don't want to wrap this around it. So he has to go to the back side. And I thought I had marks on here. Yeah, that's what it is. So he is like that. I have two little white marks on the cups, upper and lower cups, on how he's supposed to go in there so that he doesn't hurt the lines. Oh, wow. There's part of it, and then here's our upper bolt through. Now comes the fun part, is lining it up with that punched portion. Is the cup has to, if I was, actually, it probably wouldn't be smart to cut those, because they also help with keeping the spring aligned. Springs in here. Where the hell's the, there it is. So something like that. Yeah. Have the LCA help you hold it up while you get the nut and couple washers. Now this guy, I just do finger tight until we have him loaded up, and I'm sure that the line's not getting pinched or in the way or anything like that. So right now the line is on the far side, which is where I want it. So I'm just gonna finger tighten him right there. The cup is in the LCA portion. Then we can have this, we can raise this up and get the shock mount. I guess it's better just to do the lower ball joint. Just drop it onto the OBJ, right? We can't line him up, sort of. Just letting the jack go by itself. Find this. It's pretty good. Jack is fully off. That, I put him on the LCA. Again, make sure I don't hit that zerk thing. And then do that, we should guide the shock back up where we want it. Which is about right there. Now, we can put our big nut down here. LCA is not coming off now. Could vibrate the holy hell out of it. And then we have our shock stuff, our rubber bumper, our top washer, our top nut. And this guy we can zoom on right now. Okay. And then I will grab the air and do the lower. Sorry, this is going to be loud, but just for a sec. Oh, hang on. Drop this guy. So then he has some grip. Can't really see, but I think you can get on there. Yep, he's on. Yay! So that's it for air tools. I'm not going to put the fender liner back on until I'm sure that I've got the leak. We're done with loud tools today. Thank you for understanding. I'm just going to slide that away. Did I take it to the back? Oh, yeah, I just set it by the lip rest. All right, here we go. This is why it sucks when it gets tight. And just so you guys know, 100-spoke wheels, like these Daytons, they're very heavy. These are not lightweight racing wheels by any stretch. Absolutely are not. They look great. They ride pretty damn cool, but they are not. Oh, it would help if I didn't have a huge screwdriver in here. I was like, that's weird. Tire's not coming out. Okay. So let me put the knockoff on, and since this is the driver's side, left side is regular threads. So the other side is opposite threads. So I'll show you how much I trimmed off. That's how much I trimmed off from the airline. Not very much. 3/16 of an inch, maybe. That's it. Oops. Screwdriver didn't want to stay there. It'll stay there. So now we need our hammer. Usually when you buy 80 or 100-spoke wheels, they usually give you a lead hammer. But these are pretty nice, and the dead blow, they work really well for this too. You literally hammer to the 3 spokes as hard as you can, and that will also self-tighten the wheel as you're driving down the road. It tightens itself, so it should not come loose. So I'm going to set that guy there. We'll do zip ties once we determine that it's not leaking anymore. And we can bring the car down now. Correct, because we have shotgun. Hold on. Bring him down. We're going to air him up. And then once he gets aired up and raised, then I'll tighten the bolt that's down here. Because that thing is going to kind of, I don't want to say center itself, but it's going to align itself where the airlines are going to be happy. So, see how much air is in here. You guys can see how that thing works. So we'll have to run the compressor for a little bit. But now you can see the air suspension working. And our airbag down here working very well. I don't know how much. Look, we have 85, close to 100 PSI. Both of those. I need to run the compressor really quick, and that's going to be kind of a loud, obnoxious noise. It's actually not too bad. But now you guys can see how the airbag works. Airbag down there, how he works in regards to the suspension. It's pretty stiff right now compared to like the OEM shocks. The OEM shocks were kind of, or the OEM springs were kind of a joke. But this stiffens it up a little bit. It's a much, much nicer ride. I like the air ride a lot. This is 120. $120 is basically maxed out. Like I can get my whole foot in here. Normally this would be all literally in the fender well. So at 120, then we'll let it sit. And with all the weight and everything, it'll tell me if we're still leaking from that or if we're leaking back at the solenoid by the tank. This has been trimmed, reloaded, resealed. This is all brand new line. So That'll tell us hopefully tell us where the leak is. So 120 is a lot of pressure. Okay, so we're at 120 psi on this one and on that one, and they should be, depending on the cold, they should be between, I would say 120 or probably 110 and 100 when these finally settle. That's it. Um, Airbag installation, the hardest part about doing airbag installation is making sure you have enough room on the chassis when you cut these parts of the chassis out, making sure you have enough room and the bag's fully inflated and fully extended. That's the hardest part. And because this isn't a normal, this is what's called a B body. It's not a G body. It's not an F body. It's not, and a lot of people think it's a D body, but it's actually a B body frame, which is totally different than all of the other ones. So when I went to install this, and I talked to the really great owner over at Easy Air Ride, who got me this great system, it was surprising to find out. He was blown away. He's like, "There's no way that needs that much cutting." Yes, it does. It really does need that much cutting. It's so different. This is so much beefier. Like this has technically a motorhome steering box in it. I mean, it's a serious. And these cars only came with, what do they have? 235s as the tires. We're 265s. We're 275s on this. 275s. Sorry, 255. 45 17s. So we're another almost 2 inches wider than the original wheel on all four corners. And that also helps contribute to this nice smooth ride. So let me put the mic back on, come over with you guys, and we'll bring this back. At least keep it kind of close. I'll get it plugged back in. There we go. So as you guys can see, it's not that once you get the airbags in, it's not that difficult to maintain them and check for leaks and stuff, but it is unfortunately something you have to do. And when you have something custom like what this was, yeah, you like that? How's that for a neat trick? When you have something that was customized so poorly before it came here, you have to make up for a lot of stuff. Now, the original springs and stuff in here were absolutely deadly. Even with the lower control arm released, getting that thing to pop out of there, Chris and I were here. Thank God those spindles were in the way, because it would have just punched a hole right inside of me, and Chris was on the other side. It would have absolutely went right through him. So the figuring out all the suspension, and with no reference from anyone else. A lot of guys have done air rides on Cadillacs, and yeah, those are D bodies. Those are D body frame. It's a lot like a Monte Carlo. It's a lot like an Olds. It's a lot like, a whole bunch of other cars. It is not like this. It is not. This frame is totally different. This is much closer to a truck frame, but not like a truck frame, because even the truck guys have different everything. The alignment on this is done with shims. You have these little like fork shims that go in there to change your caster and camber and your toe. Well, your toe is actually threaded down here, but that's why on these cars, especially on a lot of older cars, they do these quick alignments called toe and go. You don't really adjust the camber or caster. You just do the toe and call it done. Kind of sucks because you'd like to be able to, get the camber correct, especially on an air ride system. You'd like to be able to get the camber to maintain, especially at the lower height. But it would be a huge adventure to do that on this. So, yeah, I got to figure out the the shock mount there, if he's going to bump into that guy, we're going to have to relocate that shock mount. Is he bumping in on this side too? I'm just curious. I can't see the shock because I have the wheel well in the way. And oh yeah, he's bonking into that too. Damn. Okay. So we will have to make an adjustment. Yeah, there's no, that's the other thing. Like the steering on this is totally different than the steering on any of the other, Caprices or Monte Carlos or anything like that. The steering is totally different. The frame's different. Everything is different. So people will say, oh yeah, it fits a Cadillac, whatever. It actually doesn't. It might fit a regular Fleetwood. You can use the pictures. It'll bolt right up. All of that doesn't work on limos. Limos are totally different beast. So now that we have this under tension, that's it. That's all it takes. We're done with these guys for now. So I can put them away. Always a good idea to put tools away. Even if you have to come right back and get it, just put them away so you don't lose them. So the only thing I have out now are the bolts for the shields. So that's why the airbag system in this has been so difficult. Most guys can do an airbag system in a GM vehicle in a weekend. A little bit of cutting on the spring cups, check for leaks, a little bit of wiring. Great, no problem. This has been a huge adventure, especially running the airlines all the way to the back, all of the front suspension. Now I've got a steering shock issue. I have nowhere to mount it on the back side because I have brake lines there. So I have to do the shock mounts here. My friend Braden welded these shock mounts in and they're great, but we're going to have to rotate the shock back, or maybe get one with an extension on it so that it clears the steering. Because that is a really good place to mount the shock. Just the outside of it is getting dented. Paint's getting scraped off because of the steering, because of the tie rod arm touching it. So I don't want a shock to blow out. That would suck. So we'll get that adjusted. It just means different shocks. That's all. That's probably the best way to do it. There you go. And you can see when I let go, it goes right back and stays steady. So it's doing pretty well. Let's check the pressure for grins. And we're just under 120 on both, though. So hoping that's a cold thing. It's only 62 degrees in here. So that's it. That's kind of a leak check on the airbag. And again, other GM vehicles, other Ford vehicles, other Chrysler vehicles, it's going to be very different how the control arm works and all of that. But it'll be the same basics. So you have the lower control arm has to come out of the way so you can get the bag down. You have to release the shock so the LCA can come down. Make sure your system's empty of air, because once you pull that thing off, it's going to go. That's always bad. Plus, it won't release. Even if you have 25, 30 PSI in there, it's not going to release. It'll be locked in there with those type of fittings. You guys got the basics. That's it. So we'll check this guy in, I don't know, we're 12:15. So we'll check this guy. That took less than an hour. We'll check this guy in the morning and after Cars and Coffee, before the baby shower, and we'll see how he's doing. If he's somewhere near 100, I think we're okay. And then we'll check him when we get back from the baby shower. And we're going to bring the MR6 in tomorrow night and do some computer stuff on it. And hopefully figure out the exhaust for this. We still have an exhaust issue on this. But we're getting a lot closer, and we're getting closer to Florida, which means this thing's going on a big road trip, which means we need to get everything bulletproofed, including whatever the hell is draining this battery. We'll figure that out. And I got to get the grill cut. Hopefully you guys get a little sneak peek at the grill. We're going to do something cool with this. I haven't figured it out yet. I think just white, but we're going to do something cool now that I have the cool hood emblem. So thanks everyone for hanging out tonight. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, definitely post them below. You can send me a message on Facebook Messenger. You can send me a message here, and I'll try to help out and explain things a little bit better. If you want to see something different, let me know. I'm happy to help out. We can do JDM stuff. We can do Eurospec stuff. Whatever you guys want to see. You want me to bring the Viper in? We'll bring the Viper in. I got to do an oil change on that thing, especially before going to Florida. And then got the Miata here. We can bring in the SRT4 if you guys want to see a full blast race car and like how the factory builds them. Show you a bunch of really cool stuff on that car. Yeah. So that's where we're at, and we'll do another Facebook Live probably tomorrow night. And like I said, if you guys got questions, comments, whatever, please let me know. I'm happy to take care of you. Don't forget to show someone that you love them today. It's very, very, very important. Give me a kiss on the cheek. Give me a kiss on the tip of their nose. Hold their hand. Give it a squeeze. Show them that you love them, okay? It's important for you and for them. All right. Thanks, everyone. I will catch you on the next YouTube Live. Cool.